Let's get into your favorite bet. Give me one that's not, I think you're going to talk Super Bowl, but I'd rather talk the other ones first and see where you're at with maybe either the Texans or Titans, whichever one you prefer to start with.
Yeah, we can start with the Titans. It's a team that I'm fading. Their win total is 6.5. I think, and the under is pretty juiced. I think last I checked, it was like around minus 130, minus 128 for them to go over. I've gotten in an argument with someone that I trust and respect in my Discord, who's a Titans fan, who thinks that I'm totally off base, and he said he's going to come in and just make fun of me when the Titans win 10 games this year. I just don't see it. And to me, it's all about Will Levis. I respect. Talking dongs, I respect what Will Levis is packing. I think he leaked all that stuff on purpose so he could show off. But as a quarterback, I don't respect him. I think he's terrible. He came in and was guns blazing his first start. I think he threw 4 touchdowns, but it was on 28 passes. It was completely unreliable deep balls. Over the course of the season, we kind of saw what Will Levis is, and he's got a rocket for an arm, but he can't see pressure, and that's the most damning thing. He just has no idea how to navigate a pocket. He just doesn't believe pressure exists. He just stands there.
Right.
And the Titans' offensive line was the worst in the NFL last year. It's projected to be better this year, but better meaning the third worst. So it's still not going to be a positive experience with the offensive line. And then you look at their skill positions. They would have the best skill position unit in the NFL if the year was 2020 with Tyler Boyd, Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and then at running back they have Tony Pollard. I like Tajay Spears, and I think that Pollard is better than what he showed. Everybody was mad at him last year on the Cowboys. I think that's all relative to expectations.
Right.
The division itself is weird because we don't know what to expect from a lot of these teams. The Colts, Anthony Richardson played 1.5 games last year. The Texans, are they a one-hit wonder? The Jags are made the playoffs 2 years ago, or started 7-3 last year, then completely fell off the map. So we don't really know what to expect from their division. But if it ends up being a tough division, then obviously that wouldn't help the Titans. And the Titans have the 6th hardest schedule as of right now, according to Sharp Football Analysis, 27th ranked strength of schedule. So it's not going to be an easy schedule. I just have a hard time seeing. Again, this is mostly just a fade of Will Levis with. Yeah. Their defense, I think, is going to be fine. It's not. I'm not saying their defense is going to be terrible, but I just don't think Will Levis is going to be a good quarterback. I think has too many negative plays, cannot respond to pressure on an offensive line that's going to allow a lot of pressure. So I just don't see it at all with them. Again, reasonable minds can disagree, and if your take is that you think Will Levis is going to take a step forward, then you're going to think that their win total is easily going to go over 6.5. So I don't necessarily think that. That's an opinion that is just completely unacceptable. It's just a kind of a difference of what we think of the prospect.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. This is where we are in agreement. So
it's the other one that you don't agree with.
Yeah, it's mostly a Colts versus Texans kind of conversation that we're definitely going to have here in one sec. After I just pile on a little bit more on Will Levis and say, yeah, man, I'm not going to ride out a couple good weeks that he had here and there. And that's not to say that he can't come in and surprise. Maybe it's not even a Josh Allen comparison because he had the reins of the team the whole time. He's just the best comparison of a quarterback that in the first year or two, you're like, I don't know. And then after the middle of year 2, you're like, okay, no, I know now. And now we all, regard him as a top 3 quarterback in the league at this point. I don't think that's Will Levis. The mobility, to your point, isn't the same as Josh Allen's. Not that he's not capable. He still can get out of the pocket enough if he wanted to. He just doesn't. It's almost like being that big and being able to take punishment at times is bad for him because he doesn't get out of the pocket in time. And that offensive line combined with the strength of schedule, that's where I'm at with the Titans as well. I like the skill players. If you're talking fantasy, value-wise, Tajay Spears is going to be way better where he's getting drafted, in my opinion, than Tony Pollard is. I don't know why you'd go from rushing behind an incredible offensive line to a terrible one and think that that's going to make improvements. Maybe there's some more receptions for him, but once you're looking at the running back is such a heavy part of your passing game because you have to in a way, then I don't know that's a recipe for actual success. So the strength of schedule there is a big part. And I kind of want to use that as a segue to introduce how we're in a little bit of a different state when it comes to the Texans versus the Colts. And I will say 2 things. The most important things for my point, that is, I am in favor of the Colts winning the division. Plus 340, you can still get that at. And that's 2 things. One, value. It's really just value. I don't feel like laying juice with Houston to win the division. I don't think you do either. I know that's not necessarily one of your picks, but I definitely don't want to lay the juice for them to win the South when I don't think there's that big of a difference, because I do believe in Anthony Richardson, and I believe in Anthony Richardson with the combination of the return of Jonathan Taylor at full strength, back to the dude that we all fell in love with after like his second season in the league. So I'm going to bank on that being the case. I think the offensive coordinator is what, well, Shane, let's just call it Shane Steichen, head coach, and the scheme that he's going to run is going to trump that of the Texans as well. So that's a part of it. The other thing is the strength of schedule. Once again, Houston only is like what's 8th hardest, basically 7th hardest strength of schedule in the league, right? So they're right next to the Titans as well. And when you see this big a disparity where the Colts have currently the 7th easiest strength of schedule listed here, that's a really, really big difference between the divisions, and kind of lets you know that, like, well, they wanted to put the Texans on prime time. They've got like 4 primetime games this year. That means if you're not playing Thursday nights, that means you're playing somebody good. And that's probably a big part of the difference in their schedules there. But make your case for the Texans and where you're at with them.
Yeah, so my thing with the Texans is I'm not going to fight you on the division. If you were to tell me like what's a better bet, it's the Colts at the value without a doubt. My thing with the Texans is I'm a full believer of CJ Stroud, and they fit. There's like 3 different categories of Super Bowl winners. It's you either have the best quarterback of all time and you're the Patriots or the Chiefs. You have a ready-made roster just missing a quarterback, and then you acquire one, and that was Tom Brady with the Bucs, and that was Matthew Stafford. Or, and this is the most common you see, it's a young quarterback takes the leap in his 2nd or 3rd year starting on a team that isn't paying a quarterback big money, is still on a rookie deal, and is able to upgrade the team around him. They added Stephon Diggs, who you can say all you want if he's like a locker room cancer. I think he's a little bit of a prima donna, but I think he's going to be on his best behavior because he's on a 1-year deal. Like,
right.
He doesn't want teams next offseason to say, we can't touch Stephon Diggs. He's going to be on his best behavior. They added the defensive end, Danielle Hunter, the defensive end, Danielle Hunter. Yeah. The thing with the Texans is, if you want to play the rebuttal or be the opposite side, devil's advocate is the word that I'm looking for, is they were really, really good against bad defenses, and they were really, really bad against good defenses last year. Obviously, that is a point against them. And their defense probably played a little bit over their heads last year. They had like the 3rd best running defense and like one of the worst passing defenses, and their defense overall was like 16th in DVOA. But I just think CJ Stroud is the man. I think what he showed last year, like he torched the Browns, who had a really good defense in the playoffs last year away, but not at home, away. I also value a ton that they're able to retain their offensive coordinator, because I think a lot of times if a team disappoints while bringing back what people assume to be the same coaching staff and roster, it's when they lose their offensive coordinator. The Eagles lost to Shane Steichen. Their offense took a dramatic hit. We see that all the time, where like a defensive-minded head coach like DeMeco Ryans, if he doesn't have his right-hand man on offense, then it's not going to necessarily work out. Think like Dan Quinn. They had the best team in the NFL when he had Kyle Shanahan running the offense. You know what I mean? Like, it's just totally different. Yeah. But I respect DeMeco Ryans as a defensive mind. He consistently had top 5 units coaching the 49ers. Granted, yeah, the talent was better. So my path to a Texans Super Bowl victory is not a top 5 defense. It's a top 3 offense with a 12th ranked defense. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Their top 3 receivers are probably the best trio you'll find in the NFL with Diggs, Nico, and Tank Dell. Their offensive line does have question marks, right, but they had the most adjusted games lost among the offensive line of any team since 2001. So if you're playing a good defense that has a good defensive line, yeah, you're going to struggle against that. So you figure just with continuity and young players getting reps last year that they should be better among the offensive line. And like, think about the Eagles in 2017. Carson Wentz makes the leap. Think about the Chiefs in 2018 and 2019. Patrick Mahomes, we didn't know at that point, was going to be the best quarterback of all time. Think the Eagles in 2022. Think the Bengals in 2021. Think the Packers in 2010. It's like there's a long history of these teams with the rookie or a quarterback still on the rookie deal takes the leap in a 2nd or 3rd year starting, and a team goes from like average to slightly above average to like, oh no, they're an elite team.
Right.
And then the last point I'll make is that they have a really, really easy schedule their first like 5 to 7 games of the year. And we've seen a lot, like a team that we're not quite sure of starts the year hot and then is just able to ride that the entire season. You just take the momentum, everything kind of works out in your favor. Like they should realistically start 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 5-1 if you look at their first 5 or 6 games. So like it's not totally unrealistic for them to just get out to such a big lead at the beginning of the year. And then for the Colts, like I don't disagree with anything you're saying about the Colts, but like what's the evidence that Anthony Richardson can stay healthy? He played 2.5 games and had 2 different injuries, a concussion and a shoulder injury. And they're not going to stop running him. He doesn't seem like he can really take care of himself yet. He kind of invites contact. But yeah, I mean, if he can play 17 games, then the Colts are going to be really good for sure.
All true. No disagreements with anything you said, actually. In fact,
yeah,
but I might be higher on the Texans defense than you even like. You're like, as long as it's a 12th ranked defense, which I agree with. That's all they'll need with the level of offense that they're probably capable of playing. The running game, bit of a question. Now you've got Mixon in there, and you've got Singletary obviously still coming back. The thing that's interesting about the offensive coordinator consistency, I think I'm going in order of the points you made too, by the way. The offensive coordinator consistency, great. The turnover rate of the roster, though, pretty high. So you've got new guys coming in that will need to mix. Now on offense, to that point, like you've got the guys you need to be coming back are coming back in that sense. So no qualms with that. I believe Dalton Schultz is still the tight end as well.
Yeah, he's still there. Yep.
So another year of him being able to sort of figure things out. He was almost exposed a little bit, but he had a few games that sort of made it go like, okay, Dalton Schultz is in there somewhere. We just
he's
haven't
fine.
really gotten him out.
He's fine.
And then Jake Ferguson was awesome on the Cowboys. So that was a little bit of a knock to him, but it's still like, whatever. Point being, like, they've got a robust offense. On defense, if they're able to, like, if they are the best sort of edge rushing tandem between, defensive rookie of the year, Will Anderson, and then you've got on the other end, you meant Danielle Hunter. It's not Danielle Hunter, right?
It's Danielle Hunter, yeah.
Thank you. I thought that's how you pronounced it. But that was a huge loss for the Vikings, obviously, big there. They only lost really one guy on defense I would worry about, Greenard at linebacker, and he moved on, but like pretty much everybody else is there. So look, like, it's good enough. And if it's getting pressure, it's going to be top 10, the way that it's probably capable of. All of that said, I'm not taking the Colts for the Super Bowl. I'm not taking anything like that. I'm taking them for the division. And so we're actually not even as opposite as we thought, because I think the ceiling for the Texans is obviously higher. Mine is a value play and a belief in Shane Steichen, to be honest, who is kind of a wizard, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
the fact that
he's
he
awesome.
won 9 games last year is pretty wild, with Minshew and company doing their thing. So yeah, I think the Super Bowl bet's way better for the Texans. I do think we both have a couple of player. Well, I have a prop. I believe you have an award. I'm gonna just let you know I am taking Jonathan Taylor to lead the league in rushing. This was actually at plus 550 like a week or two ago. It's gone up to plus 750 on FanDuel, and I think you can even get plus 800 on like some smaller books, maybe offshores. But plus 750 for him to lead the league in rushing. I'm fading Christian McCaffrey this year, not so much so that like I'm betting against him. I'm certainly not drafting him first overall in fantasy. I want to make that's my strongest take. Is
so who's your number one pick
in fantasy right now?
Yeah,
I haven't even run a single mock draft where I got the first overall pick. I've run like 20 and I haven't even gotten one. So if you're making me answer that question right now, please don't. Because
if you say that it's not Christian the rules are, if you complain, if you say that this person shouldn't have been this person should have been an all-star, you say, okay, who you're taking out. So if Christian McCaffrey's not the 101, who's slotting in?
Who is the 101? That is the question. And I've gone back and forth because I mean, I still want to take I still prefer like a wide receiver 1 at the first overall
like a Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I really do. Once you get past, like I know there's the 3 running backs in Bijan, Christian McCaffrey, and who am I forgetting? Oh, and Kyron's been thrown in there as well.
Kyron.
Yeah, but like he's still at end of the first round. I just think with those guys, like, yeah, if you want one of those guys, get them in the top like 5 to 7 picks. That's great. But once you get past that, like I think you have to have a top wide receiver in the first round. If you don't get one of the top 5 running backs in the second round, I think you still need to go wide receiver 2. And then I think in the third round, you can get a running back. Kyron Williams has fallen to me in the third round in some PPR leagues. It was full PPR.
I guess PPR is fair.
Yeah. And so some health stuff, but that's kind of how I'm trying to construct the team is wide receiver, running back, unless I get not Christian McCaffrey essentially, and I'm able to get like a Gibbs or Breece Hall is basically what I'm looking at. I just keep forgetting Breece Hall. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But for CMC, fading him is a part of the bet for Jonathan Taylor, because I look the injury history for him. You can't, not 2 seasons in a row. The 49ers, if you look around, had like the third luckiest health, whatever you want to call it, right? Third healthiest team last year. And as a result, like I just have to fade that result in itself. And who's like Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey will not be making appearances on any of my teams for that reason, that they're just the most injury prone guys, the highest usage. Move into Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall. I'm really also just sort of by subtracting to get to him. I'm subtracting CMC. I'm subtracting Breece Hall, not because I don't think that he's capable of it. I do think, though, that once you have Aaron Rodgers in there, they're going to be throwing inside the red zone, for instance, right? Things like that. So few less yards, definitely a few less touchdowns, perhaps, unless they're really using him inside the 10, and I don't think they will be. So I go to Jonathan Taylor for the rushing yards, in part because, I mean, he was third last year over the last 11 games, and that includes like missing 3 of those games as well. Once he got back in there, still splitting reps with Zach Moss, who's gone now as well. So the plus 750 was too much for a guy where I'm like, look, like before like 2 years ago, we were easily just crowning this dude. I also would say Derrick Henry is a good long shot there, or not long shot, but at least like not even dark horse. I think he's also tied at plus 750. He and CMC and JT have like the same odds. I think you could go for both of them in terms of JT and Derrick Henry, and you'd be fine, because that's the other guy that I'd be high on for straight rushing yards, playing alongside Lamar, playing that offense that's going to run the ball so much. But yeah, I'm banking on Anthony Richardson staying healthy to increase Jonathan Taylor's value and him just being needed no matter what. So that's that one. But I believe you have something slightly different as well from the division.
Yeah, well, so I totally agree that a rushing quarterback helps with rushing yards for the running back, because it's like if the read option just takes away. So yeah, I totally get that. So Taylor is technically the favorite, but plus 700. That's like, I mean, that's obviously a super long shot. And then McCaffrey, this is according to FanDuel. Okay. And then McCaffrey's at 750 and Henry's at 800. I'm in agreement with you on Christian McCaffrey, because like his last 2 years, he stayed incredibly healthy. The 2 years before that, he couldn't stay healthy. So you're just betting on regression from there.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't have anything regarding like a season long prop like that. It's just based on my Super Bowl pick. It's CJ Stroud to win MVP. Like Wentz would have won MVP if he didn't get hurt in 2017. Mahomes won it in 2018. Hurts would have won it in 22 if he didn't get hurt. Like Rodgers, I don't remember if he won it in 2010 or not, but it's just the quarterback making the leap in their second or third year starting. I've said it a million times, but that's exactly it. I can't find the odds for MVP, but he's definitely not among the favorites. So yeah, I mean, it's like, again, a complete correlation to my Texans Super Bowl pick, but like they don't have a running game.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they're gonna they're gonna pass more than normal. They were even very pass heavy with a rookie quarterback last year. So you figure they're going to be even more. They're going to trust him even more. I think I can't bet MVP in my state in Virginia, so that's why it's not popping up.
No way.
Yeah, I can't bet offensive awards. It's a dude,
and there's I'm noticing differences in the odds between states, by the way, because I'm looking at Colorado odds, and you can still get JT plus 750. I would imagine
on FanDuel. Wow.
Yeah, that would be wild to me if there's that level of discrepancy. But
state, yeah.
But CJ Stroud, I have a 10-1. So Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow now tied with him as well. You got Mahomes, Allen, 500 and 800, so 5-1, 8-1. Mahomes, Allen, respectively. CJ Stroud and Joe Burrow, 10-1. Jordan Love, 14-1, and Lamar, 15-1. Rounds out your top 6, basically.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah. I'm not denying that at all. Let me do this real quick. Because I've been drawing up criteria for commonalities and things that I think you really need at this point. And this is only like percentage wise. I would say you have a greater percentage to win MVP if best QB on the best team, nice and easy, really simple. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to do pretty outlandish stuff though at this point to continue to like maintain a hold on that award. So you'll get the ability for other guys to come behind him with slightly worse stats if there's a little bit of voter fatigue sometimes with him, but still best QB on the best team. I think you also look at a team with shorter odds to win the Super Bowl who also has a high win total projection and somewhere in the top 10 to 15 strength of schedule. Those are the 3-ish things I could find for an MVP and quarterback. It's got to be a quarterback. It's not even a question. So just make it the MVQ at this point. Like who's the most valuable
quarterback? Right? Yeah. It's like MVPs for quarterback and then offensive player of the year is for non-quarterback with the most gaudy stats.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a rushing QB who just loses out, like if a Lamar wins it, right? Something to that effect. And CMC last year was, he basically had to win it with the amount of times he was in the end zone, combined with all the yards. But other than that, like he's the only guy that I can really see, unless we see Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson do exactly what he did last year, which I don't believe in, then yeah, you're not looking at it. So the only other teams that I think could compete in terms of being a team that might fit this criteria, the Chiefs have a top 12 easiest strength of schedule, which is pretty annoying. The 49ers, Packers, Lions. I'm not taking Brock Purdy. I could make a case for Jordan Love. Like the Packers and Texans being the darlings of the betting world right now in the NFL world, I would say, because of the upside of the quarterbacks and the youngsters on the offense, whatever. I buy the Texans more than I buy the Packers and CJ Stroud over Jordan Love. So I'm with that. And then on the Lions, no one's ever going to give Jared Goff anything. He just came in the league, got blemished, has small hands, and will never get the credit he probably deserves. So that's the case there. But that leaves CJ Stroud as a really, really solid choice for MVP at that point. And I would throw Joe Burrow in there as well, in part because if he's coming back from something, I don't know that he's really good enough to win like comeback player of the year or anything that silly. But I think he's another guy that falls into this criteria that you could bet on. So that's me agreeing with you about CJ Stroud, essentially.
Yeah, and like the Jordan Love thing is like he got paid. They don't have the benefit of upgrading the roster around him because like that's when you wait 3 years to make him your starting quarterback, you don't get the benefit of the rookie wage scale, which so many teams have benefited from. So that's also part of it.
And that's a win next year and the year after kind of move for the Packers, because the way that they signed Jordan Love now, the purpose of that is the quarterback, the contracts just keep getting more expensive. So if you pay Jordan Love when his contract is actually up, that's going to be a hike in his salary. It's going to be harder to maneuver money by year. So I think they are giving a good amount of that money to him. Retroactively this year and moving forward as well, they'll be able to make moves with the way that they structure their cap in the coming years. But for the Texans, like you said, they don't have to even worry about that.
Exactly.
Their QB was a rookie. They played him as a rookie, and that begets you a couple more years of being able to fill in spots around him. So I'm totally in agreement with that. Did you have one more thing before I just want to close out with the Jags real quick?
No, the only thing I was going to add is they can't even pay CJ Stroud until after 2 seasons from now, because you can't even re-sign a player until after their 3rd year, and he's going into his 2nd year. So they can't even pay him this year if they wanted to.
I forgot that little caveat where they were like, we're done overpaying rookie quarterbacks, and we mean it. Like not even the next year or the year after can you do it.
They have to be in the NFL for 3 years.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. But the Jags are the only team that we don't have a bet for. I'm in favor of fading them, to be honest. You can get them plus 120, 125-ish to not make the playoffs. And I think them being just penciled in as the second best team in this division is kind of absurd. I think if you don't want to bet on the Colts to win the division, I still think that they're going to make some moves closer to the top 6 than they were last year. So I would prefer them, but I'm happy to fade the Jags. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence believer. I know they upgraded things a bit. Depends how you look at it. Calvin Ridley gone. You got Gabe Davis in. Get ready for 3 straight weeks of no fantasy points from Gabe Davis, Jags fans. Hope you enjoy that. And then they got PTJ, as we talked about, Brian Thomas Jr. at LSU, who might be a difference maker. He might be a sneaky good wide receiver, top wide receiver candidate. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been given that title, probably rightly so. But BTJ should be right up there if he's getting the touchdowns, because he had 17 last year for LSU. He kind of lives there. That's it, though, for me. And I'll be drafting Etienne as well, by the way. He proved that he doesn't necessarily need a strong passing game to be able to get his. But other than that, I don't really like much of what I see there in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect from the Jags. They started off like I said, I think they were the 1 seed at one point last year. They were 7-3 or something like that.
Yeah, after they had I forget who it was. They lost to the Bills. They came back. They won a couple games that were really nice.
Yeah, they had a horrible end to the year. And I mean, obviously, Trevor Lawrence did get hurt for part of that, even though I don't think he actually missed games, but he had a sprained ankle. And their last game of the year, they just got trounced by the Titans to completely miss the playoffs. I have no idea. There are some stats that suggest that Lawrence was better than what we thought. They had the most either yards or touchdowns missed due to drops. And someone posted a video of every drop touchdown from Ridley down on the roster.
Yeah.
But like you said, they lost Calvin Ridley, who got a huge deal from Tennessee. Their offensive line was banged up last year, and we don't really know what to expect from them. Their defense has some talent, but is lacking it. I don't know. Honestly have no idea what to expect. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the division. I wouldn't be surprised if they came in last.
That's fair.
It's kind of where I'm at with the Jags.
That's fair. And the thing about the Jags too is I don't think we're going to know anything. We're not necessarily going to be able to glean what's going to happen to them for the season from the first like 3 to 4 games, right?
Yeah.
Like year prior, they're bad at off the rip, and then Trevor Lawrence picks it up, and they're all of a sudden like the Jags. Oh my god! And then they make this historic comeback in the playoffs. Oh my god, the Jags! And then we come in high on them the next year, nothing. So it is a little bit of a somewhat bipolar team in that sense. So we'll see what happens with them, but. Either way, man, I'm just pumped to be talking some football. I'm going to be honest. I think everybody who's going to be listening is really just looking for an excuse to talk football. Maybe they'll follow the roughly 5 to 6 plays that we've got on our futures tickets, but that's about all for now. So any parting words or anything else? I know Nick Foles' retirement was today, so we can let you, sort of gush about that and get back to loving him. But any other thoughts from you?
No, I'm also excited football's back. Dongs are fun, but just there's nothing quite like NFL. Nick Foles retired, responsible for the best day of my life. So I'll be grateful for him for as long as I live. And I appreciate you having me. Excited for football, excited to talk bangers. And
Yeah, and we're going to be doing stuff. I'm telling people on the top of the show, which you don't know because I'm recording it without you, which is the intro. But I am going to let people know, like, I'm going to be on pretty consistently with you on Sundays to be looking at the final sort of slate of games. And I'll just give my strategy right now, just to let you know what's coming. A lot of teases. Because the way that I play Sunday morning, well, I'm specifically, and I learned this from my guy over at, I already forgot his name. I had him on like a year ago, and he was awesome. It was Thomas from Unabated.
Thomas Viola. Tommy
Viola. There we go.
He's awesome. I love him. Yeah,
great guy, and he really turned me on last year to He turned me on to the idea that the lines are sharpest on Sunday morning. They've been smacked all the way to where they probably should be. That's when you tease things. You now have a concrete number that you can actually use as your anchor to tease off of. If you're teasing on a Wednesday or Thursday, those lines are going to move before Sunday. They haven't gotten to their final sort of strongest place. Once they're in their strongest place, well, now I'm teasing a legit number as opposed to a somewhat more of an arbitrary number that's only the opinion of the books and a few people, right? So that's going to be coming on Sunday morning, just to give you a little bit of heads up on that.
Tease God, I like it. I don't do teasers myself. I almost never parlay stuff unless it's like some wacky, like out of the box, like $1 to win 100K type of parlay. For me, it's between 3 to 5 main lines, probably closer to 3 per week, and then the rest of it's player props, like anytime touchdown stuff. I really like, and I do this in NBA, but it's even better for NFL because it's a smaller sample size, but like pumping up those numbers. Like let's pretend a receiver's over-under receiving yards is like 60.5. Bet that bad boy up to 100, because that's like the NFL. It's very rare that you have receivers that consistently get, like, let's say their average is 65 per game. They're going to have games with 200. They're going to have games with 10. You just have to find those blow up spots. So that's what I really like to do for the NFL is finding guys who can like really just have a massive ceiling potential. And then from there, obviously the anytime touchdowns is the most, that's the dong equivalent for NFL.
I fear we're losing the value. I'm worried about ATTDs this year.
Yeah. The more people bet a market, the less value there is on said markets. You have to be, I know a lot of people last year got away from anytime touchdowns and got into like quarterback interceptions was a huge thing with a couple people last year. So we'll see what the new stat is this year. But that is true. It's tough to find value now with anytime touchdowns.
Yeah, but I still love it because I know that you love the plus money and all that, so I'm with it, and I'll definitely be having plenty of those, I promise. So, but that is all the time that we're gonna have in this one. Definitely make sure to check out Modi at Jedi Modi on Twitter. Also got the YouTube channel with the same name as well, doing great stuff with baseball. We'll be collabing here moving forward as well. So until we see you next, happy betting.